is there a future out there where we can protect the planet, we can reverse climate change, and people can still, I'm going to say, eat meat, go on holiday, whatever? Is there something out there where everyone or most people can be happy with the solution?
That's a really hard question. I'm not sure there is.
Welcome to episode 2 in our series of podcast interviews with Professor Reto Knutti, one of the most renowned climate scientists on the planet, working at the ETH University in Zurich, one of the best universities in the world. Reto took a lot of time to go into detail with many different subjects with us, which we've broken down into bite-sized podcasts just for you. And in this second episode, we're going to talk about the human factors side of sustainability, why the guilt trip that we've been living through over the last 20 years has been very detrimental towards climate support, what we need to do to make sustainability more beneficial to everyone within society, and how we can actually achieve that. We'll talk about something called ego logic, not just ecological, but also ego logic. And we'll start also talking a little bit about the facts, which is something we're going to talk more about in the third podcast in the series. But already in this second one, I think you'll hear some very interesting facts that Reto mentioned about tipping points, something that we podcasters love to talk about. He's got some very, very interesting opinions about that, different to what I expected. I do hope you enjoy the conversation. And this is something that we always forget. When it comes to climate science, it feels a little bit like religion. It's something that you should do whether you like it or not. You have to get up early on a Sunday and go to church. But I believe we need to create a future that is actually better than the past so that people embrace it. And one of the companies we interviewed, a great company called Blue Nav, they said it's a French company and they talk about ego logic. So not being ecological, but being ego logical, looking after myself. How do you feel about that?
Well, I certainly agree that we framed the problem of climate change for too long in a sort of moral sense. I mean, you're a bad guy because you have a big car. And that completely doesn't work, right? The only thing you create is resistance. And we frame it as guilt, right? I'm a bad person because I don't do enough. We frame it as individual contributions to saving the world, which is completely impossible because you feel like I'm too small, I cannot do anything, right?
Yeah.
So the type of sort of solving the world by doing something good works for a few people, but for most it doesn't work because I once said people are sort of a bit foolish, lazy, selfish, and whatever, can't remember. I mean, basically, we're thinking about now for me and not for the rest of the world in 100 years, right? And so we have to reframe the problem as not saving the world, but doing something that actually has a benefit for me. And the benefit could be either financial, because it pays off, or it could be something that's fun because I like to do it. We do lots of things that do not pay off, right? We work in a sports club, or we do volunteer work or whatever. So there's lots of things that can be attractive. Once people are excited about something, they feel they're part of a solution. Yeah, that's where things get interesting, right? Then you create momentum because people want to be part of something.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. And I mean, it's something, I've worked in change my whole life long and in all sorts of different environments, all sorts of different companies. And I think that taking the assumption that people are lazy is a great place to start. Now, it sounds terrible when you say this to a client. Let's assume that everyone that works here is lazy. But the point is, if you can create systems that lazy people would embrace, then the non-lazy people are definitely going to do it. And you've often started a project and people have said, look, we installed this new fantastic IT system and nobody's using it. They're still writing emails and they've got their Excel files. They should be planning the production with this. They should be sending out their offers to the clients with that. And 9 times out of 10 you go there and you just realize, well, it's because it takes them twice as long, or it's not reliable, or they type things in it and then it disappears and didn't save properly. It's never really down to people wanting to do a bad job. And I've often asked that in speeches. You got 200 people in a room say, who got up this morning and wanted to sabotage the company? Nobody puts their hand up,
I mean, obviously people are not lazy, right? If we're excited about something, we're happy to invest time and money and energy. We're lazy in a sense because, economically, from an energy and mental and physical energy point of view, it would make sense to do something that is easier rather than doing something that is hard, right? Because for survival, I mean, this goes back to the animal and survival theory, right?
Yeah.
If you can do something with spending less time and less energy, you should do it, right?
Yeah.
And if you can have a benefit for yourself rather than the other guy, then you're going to survive, right? This is survival of the fittest, and the immediate threat is more important than the threat tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So we're trying to save time and money and mental energy and physical energy by doing things that are easy, obviously. And if you make the changes easy, then we're going to do them. And if you make the changes hard, then it takes a lot of effort to convince people to do them.
Absolutely. And if you can find a benefit for people, then people will race after it, right? And if the car drives quicker than the horse, then you're going to change to an automobile instead of sticking with a horse and cart, right? And
right. I mean, you didn't have to convince people to use mobile phones. Right?
Yeah.
No one ever told you needed to, but you saw the benefits, even though it's costly.
Yeah.
You saw there's a lot of benefit because you have all your emails and your calendar and phone books and whatever schedules and navigation. That there's an immediate benefit for you, and that's why you use it. And that's how we should frame the problem in climate change. We should work in a solution space rather than in a sort of saving the world space.
Absolutely. And I mean, to frame this whole podcast, I mean, we've recently founded something called the Earth Circle. And what we're trying to do with the Earth Circle is bring everyone together and create a future that everyone's happy with. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's possible? I'm going to correct myself. We'll never make everybody happy. Let's be honest. Some people are born that way. They'll die that way. But do you think we can make most people happy? Is there a future out there where we can protect the planet, we can reverse climate change, and people can still, I'm going to say, eat meat, go on holiday, whatever? Is there something out there where everyone or most people can be happy with the solution?
That's a really hard question. I'm not sure there is. And honestly, that the needs and the wishes and the values of people are going to be so diverse that it's going to be very difficult to make everybody happy. And honestly, the world was never in a way that everybody was happy. I think for much of the history of the world and humanity, things were actually much worse. Right? There were wars and famines and people were much worse off. So in a sense, we've gotten into a state where people tend to be better off. Yeah. So I'm not sure there is some kind of ideal state, but I would say that there's a few points. There are solutions to many of the problems, not to all of them, but to many that do not necessarily mean you have to change everything. And the second is that even if there is no clear view towards a perfect spot or the end goal, because it's a wicked problem, we don't know where we're going to end up. Yeah. You could reframe this question as saying, can we make a step in that direction? I think we're focusing too much on this, will we make it in 2050 or 2100? Which is a really hard question. Yeah. But if you ask the question, can I do something today that brings me in a better position to reach the goals I'm trying to reach? Yeah. Then the answer is completely obviously yes. Yeah. There's lots of things I can do today, and I know what these things are. Yeah. Yeah, and that's just like I know the German football squad that became World Cup heroes 10 years ago or whenever. How long ago is it now? It's a while ago now. But when they were doing that squad, what they just said is we need to get a little bit better every day. They didn't say we're going to become, and I think with the European Cup, they did okay. I think they were third or second. I'm not a big football fan, but I just love the idea of saying, let's just try and get a little bit better every day. And then we'll probably be good enough or maybe too good by the time it comes to the World Cup. And we know what the steps are to get a little bit better, because there's a lot of steps that are completely obvious right now, and they already pay off. Okay. So let's do those. And then as we go along, we'll see whether they work. We'll get better. We'll make mistakes. We'll clean it up, and we'll probably fail in some areas. And then in our other areas, will be easier than we expect. It's so good speaking to somebody like you that obviously is taking a very pragmatic approach, because we're going to talk in this interview about your real deep science understanding. We're not just talking, as we would say in Germany, the Stammtisch, or here in Switzerland, you talk about a Stammtisch, the locals table at the pub. This is not just like
like two guys down the pub having a few opinions with each other. I'm talking to somebody that spent his whole life dedicated it to the subject of how is the climate changing. I hope I'm not, reducing you down to the wrong point. But
it's basically what I do.
Yeah.
It's not all of the things I do, but... Yeah.
Which is great. And so what we're going to try with this interview is we're actually going to cut the film up a little bit, and then we're going to send it out in different portions, because we feel like society these days likes to have information in smaller portions. And what we'd like to talk about in the next, like if you call it episodes of this, the next part of the speech is firstly whether climate change is true. Now, I know you're going to say yes, but I need some proof, and I've heard you talk about this, but let's share that with people. Let's actually talk about the facts, what we definitely know. I mean, let's just start off, before we all run off and get busy. Is it true? Do hope you enjoyed that second podcast in this series. If you did, then make sure that you're registered on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Earth Circle, so that the next podcasts are also in your feed. Or alternatively, you can go across to the Patreon channel, patreon.com, search for The Earth Circle. Once you're registered up as a Patreon there from our channel, you'll be able to see the entire interview all at once. All of those podcasts are waiting for you today already. Now, we've talked today about the human side of climate change. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about the hard facts of climate change. Yes, we're going to be talking about that 2-degree goal, and we're going to be discussing whether that was the right goal to set. We're going to talk about where we are at the moment, and there was a really interesting fact about how much warmer Switzerland is than the rest of the planet. We'll be talking as well about tipping points and whether they're the right things to measure. And once again, I think Reto Knutti takes a very interesting view there. So we'll talk about all the hard facts, and this is the podcast you need to listen to if you want to win an argument with a climate denier at the next party you go to. So please do tune in, get all the facts so you don't have to guess what's going on with the planet. And once you've got all those facts, you can form your own personal opinion about what we should do to slow down global warming, or whether you think we should do that at all.